Welcome to Second Take, the show that focuses on the issues behind the news. Mining Weekly editor Martin Creamer joins me today to unpack the latest in the mining industry. Hi Martin.
Hi Sashni.
So South Africa should allow the African continent's highly skilled exploration geologists help to discover new metals and minerals.
Yes, South African geologists who've been working in Africa, they've been working in Mali and Cameroon and the Ivory Coast and a lot of other countries, Central African Republic, they report back that the standard of geologists, exploration geologists, in that African sector, region, continent, is very high. And what they also report is that a lot of our geologists now are leaving. In fact, this fellow said they're leaving in their droves, because there's nothing for them to do here. So they're taking opportunities around the world because there's now this great big thrust towards exploration. Again, there's a demand for metals and minerals, so geologists are in demand around the world. And he reports that our geologists are just leaving the country. And he's saying that if we want to really set up a good geological team, that if a firm is planning to create a base that will do exploration in South Africa, they wouldn't be amiss to actually recruit those geologists in Africa. He said they've got MSCs, they're really well versed, they just cope with any situation. He's worked in all these countries, most of the time he spends in Africa. And he says the doors should be open to these people because they could really unlock a lot. He says they find their feet very, very fast and they know what exploration geology is all about. And if there's something to be found, they find it. And he thinks we should look to them and at the same time start really intensifying the training of our own geologists here. He said because we're going into this fourth industrial revolution, and if we don't catch up with that now, that geology that you'll need is going to be falling behind. So he feels educators must really go for it. In the meantime, he says, look, although geologists are leaving, there's still a good base here, and we should augment that with bringing in people from outside.
Now there is a huge opportunity to create new jobs by mining our coal reserves in a new environmentally correct manner.
The world has turned a cold shoulder towards coal because it creates this carbon effect in the world. They've got to get rid of carbon dioxide. It's part of the global warming imperative. So you find that the big companies are disposing of their coal assets, demanded so by their shareholders. But there are reserves there that you can use and you can build on and you can regenerate that would do a lot for the environment. In fact, it's a big environmental plus. And he's saying, with the just transition, we've got people employed on coal mines. They need to find other jobs. Hopefully we can find them that work within the renewable energy space, within the wind energy and sun energy. But also, he says, there's an opportunity to really turn those large areas that the coal mines have to agricultural account and clean up the water and clean up the air. And at the same time, regenerate coal mining. Not that you're mining coal, but you're actually dealing with the remnants of coal, and you're turning that into fertilizer that can really help agriculture in a massive way. And he was talking about the compost that you can create, actually selling for a greater amount per ton than the coal. So unless I'm sure the coal price is still going to go up, but at this point in time, you need that compost. It's very important rather than fertilizer. What you get from nature, you build that up, and then you use that for this agricultural process. And also look to what the United Nations is saying. That there is less and less ground to grow on, and the ground that is there has been heavily pumped with chemicals, fertilizer. So you need to get what Mother Nature can give, put that back in. And these coal reserves that are depleting can help you do that. And also these coal mine shafts, you can actually generate electricity from there. Because, there's always water in those areas. You can allow that water to plunge down the shaft, when you don't need the electricity, or when you need the electricity. And then, that turns the turbines that can generate electricity for you as it's plunging down. And then you use sun or wind energy to pump it back up in the night or when you don't need it. And then you store it. And you can use that same water over and over again. and then you release it to plunge down during the time when you need that electricity, and when you don't, you've got battery energy that you can push it up with, or sunlight energy to put it up with, so you can have your own electricity generation there from these mine shafts, which people have been recommending for a long time. Even while the mines are in progress, they should be doing this. Mines should have been doing this. They should have been generating their own electricity. So mines are also, they haven't taken all the opportunities to generate their own electricity, and now it's, the big light is on how you can generate your own electricity, and we see major announcements which are very positive.
And lastly, Martin, a top 40 mining study showed this week that the mining companies doing the best for the environment and people are also outperforming the markets.
Yes, PricewaterhouseCoopers, what we call them PwC, they give tremendous insight into the mining industry, and their annual report on the top 40, showed that what we call ESG, environmental, social and governance, really pays, because the mines that are actually promoting that in the greatest fashion are also the mines that are tops. So shareholders, wise shareholders, big shareholders are demanding that mines do the right thing. And when they do the right thing with the environment by generating their own renewable electricity, when they do the right thing with the communities by allowing the communities to be active within the wealth creation of mining, and when they make sure that they pay their taxes, governance is done, these are the ones that are performing best in the market. Their market cap is up. So that's an important message, that ESG is the way to go for mining companies. But one of the things they said, on the G side, on the governance side, mines should be fully transparent about their taxes. Some of them want to leave it to the government. They don't want to talk taxes. What PwC is saying, give a full transparency on your taxes. Show people what you're paying on in tax, because at the moment it's very large. And then try and get a seat at the table, so that when the South Africa asks for flow-through schemes to get exploration going, they will be able to tell the story of how good this is for the South African economy. Because sometimes the Treasury is reluctant to give incentives, particularly during this time. But if it's an incentive that pays for itself over and over again, it's penny wise, pound foolish not to introduce incentives, particularly for exploration. And they believe that by being fully transparent on the tax side, they can then be heard as to what is really good for this economy, and try and persuade Treasury, which has been very slow on this flow-through scheme. They promised the flow-through scheme in one budget, then they gave us a scheme that was parsimonious in the extreme, that no one took up except boutiques in Cape Town. And now we're asking for that again, and you can still hear that they're reluctant, and people are starting to then plead for a modified 12J, which also was meant for mining, but it doesn't suit mining at all. So for some reason, Treasury doesn't understand mining. It really doesn't. And going way back in decades, they've never been able to support mining properly, not realizing that this is a major boost for the economy. And they need to be persuaded. I've sat opposite Treasury guys who've been hostile towards the media, towards the flow-through scheme. They wouldn't even sit next to us. They said they're not going to speak to us. And fortunately, that element, or that particular person that did that day, is no longer in Treasury. But Treasury just doesn't seem to be able to grasp the magic that these flow-through schemes have done in Canada, and they are being adopted in different forms in Australia. And we need to really look at it here and come up with an incentive. If it's slightly modified, it's fine, but it must encourage the ordinary person to invest in a company that's on the stock exchange, that's doing exploration, that's at high risk, and be able to get some sort of tax credit at the end of the financial year.
Thanks for speaking with us, Martin.
It's a great pleasure, Stephanie.
That's it for today. Join us again next week for more news analysis on the local and global mining industries. And don't forget to listen to the audio version of our Mining Weekly daily email newsletter.